Here's something to be thankful for. A California abortion butcher is off the streets. He turned in his medical license on November 25th because in 2017, over a 9-month period, he sent 6 women to the hospital. Welcome back to Bible Bears, everyone. I'm Ryder Cullison. So there is a gentleman named Donald Clyde Willis. He's 77 years old. As I mentioned, he just turned in his medical license. Now this all came about because Operation Rescue, which is a pro-life group, filed a formal complaint with the Medical Board of California. Now I'm going to give you some startling background on this guy and kind of do a cursory summary of some of his medical mishaps. But before I do that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so that you will be alerted when I post new videos. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. So as I mentioned, this guy is 77. Back in 93, he filed for divorce with his wife. And after filing for divorce, he tried to commit suicide. He was living in Oregon at the time. He went into a park and shot himself in the head with his .22 revolver. Obviously, he didn't die. He was found the next morning where he was rushed to the hospital, of course, with a gunshot wound, where pieces of skull fragment and brain were removed. Pieces of his brain were removed. I sympathize with the guy for going through a divorce, and obviously he was in a very dark period of his life. He was very upset. Maybe things were falling apart in other areas of his life. Things were so dark that he decided to take his own life. After his suicide attempt, he spent 3 months in a psychiatric hospital. I don't know exactly the details there. I don't know if it was just for depression, or maybe it was because part of his brain were removed and he was dealing from after effects of that. I'm not sure. But the fact is, he spent 3 months in a psychiatric hospital after having part of his brain removed. Now, Oregon, where he was operating at the time, put restrictions on his medical license. He could continue being a doctor, but under certain supervisions. He moved to California, where he could operate freely and unrestricted. Now, at the time that he turned in his medical license, he was working with FPA Health, which is formerly Family Planning Associate. Now, I'm going to give you a quick dive into some of the things wrong. Now, basically, with a lot of the patients, he botched their abortions to the point where he had to send them to the hospital. They get to the hospital, and then the doctors are like, what's going on here? What has this guy done, or what hasn't he done? Where are his medical records? Now, his medical records are in such disarray that it represented gross negligence. Now, there was one woman in particular. She was 17 weeks pregnant, which is quite far along. He performed an abortion on her. She's bleeding. He brings her back into the operating room, performs a second abortion on her to remove more tissue. He thinks he's perforated her uterus, so he sends her to the hospital. The patient gets to the hospital. Her uterus isn't perforated. The doctors are looking at her going, what's been done, what hasn't been done? We're not sure what's going on here. And then they're like, whoa, this is really bad. So there was another patient. She's 14 weeks pregnant. This guy, he tears her cervix, okay? There's major blood loss. She goes to the hospital to repair the tear, and at the hospital, and I'm sorry that we have to kind of get graphic here, but you really need to know the specifics of abortion and what's going on here. She goes to the hospital where the remainder of her baby is removed, which included, sadly, her baby's head. There was another patient who was 11 weeks pregnant. This woman had 2 C-sections prior to this abortion. Apparently when you have a C-section, body makeup, anatomy is slightly different. This guy Willis went in. He couldn't find her cervix or something like that, but he's like, screw it. I'll go in anyway. When he was supposed to go in with ultrasound and better equipment, what he should have done was just rescheduled the interview. But he basically said, I'm an abortion ninja, I can go in blindfolded. So that's what he did. Not literally blindfolded. So he went in, The woman ends up losing 17 ounces of blood, which is a significant amount. She's rushed to the hospital. She's treated for severe internal injuries. Basically, he butchered her insides. She suffers cardiac arrest at the hospital. She has to be resuscitated. Then she undergoes abdominal hysterectomy and has to have a damaged ovary and fallopian tube removed. And there's other instances. Now, what I don't understand is these complaints were filed by Operation Rescue in 2017, because that was in 2017, 6 women in 9 months were sent to the hospital. Was he continuing to practice from 2017 up until November 25th, just a few days ago? If he was, what was going on? How many more people did he send to the hospital? Or was his license restricted while it was under investigation? I surely hope that they locked him down and said, no more. You're on restriction until an investigation can be done into this. What I also like to know is, why is a pro-life group the ones saving these women's lives, right? I'm not surprised by that, but the pro-abortion groups, whomever they are, Planned Parenthood, so on, they should be monitoring these doctors. With all the fears of Roe v. Wade being overturned and women being sent into these back alley doctors, which this guy is a back alley doctor, okay? He is butchering women. Why aren't the pro-abortion groups examining these people, keeping a closer eye on these doctors to make sure women's lives aren't being threatened? A pro-life group is saying, hey, look, you got to get this guy off the streets, because, look, we're pro-life. We don't just care about saving the lives of babies, but we care about these women too. We care about the women that are getting sent to the hospital. So I would think that pro-abortion groups, at the very least, just to try to keep their image up, would be scrutinizing these doctors and keeping them off the streets so it doesn't make the whole abortion industry look bad. But it does look bad. Kermit Gosnell, there's lots of other horrific abortion doctors who are basically playing God with women's health. They have huge egos, they're arrogant, and obviously some of them are being allowed to operate to keep their license despite the fact that parts of their brain have been removed. This guy was in a mental hospital. Come on, people, what's going on? Listen, pro-life people aren't jerks. We just believe in protecting life. The fact that the pro-abortion groups weren't scrutinizing these doctors more, to me, suggests that they're putting abortion over the health of the women. You can't do that. Guys, what do you think? Put your comments below. I hope, no matter what side of the fence you're on, pro-life, pro-abortion, that you would not want any doctor who had committed suicide or at the very least had part of their brain removed to operate on anybody. I'm sorry that he was in a dark place. I believe everybody deserves a second chance. Maybe a person recovers from a suicide attempt, their life's on track, they're responsible, they're not negligent, they're sterling doctors. Yeah, great. They deserve to have their practice. They deserve to stand on their own 2 feet again. But if they've had part of their brain removed and they've had psychological problems, and why do you let it go for six women before anybody does anything about it? It's a little abhorrent to me. Put your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, click like, subscribe, and share. I am thankful this guy is off the street. I hope you are too. Guys, have a blessed week. I love you.